This is Rosen Institute's Your Law Firm, where Lee Rosen and Ned Days cover management, marketing, finance, and new technologies for building the practice you deserve. Rosen Institute members received this episode early, as well as exclusive segments on systems for filing your tax returns, and an answer to a member question about whether a practice built on a few major clients should focus on growth to create more stability and reduce reliance on those key clients. Get access to everything you're missing at roseninstitute.com/join. Here's Lee Rosen.
It's good to be with you today from Bangkok. We flew in from Raleigh on Qatar Air. They say that Qatar has the best business class product in the sky. Is that true? Well, I really don't have any idea, and I'll tell you, I don't really care. For me, the discussion is limited to the question of whether my seat is better than the seat that I would have had in economy, way in the back of the plane. The business class seat on Qatar is way, way better than the economy seat on any airline that I have ever been on. The seat is a lie flat. It comes with a nice pair of pajamas and a blanket. The seat even has a little door so that you feel a little bit like you're in a private room if that private room didn't have a roof and people could walk by and look down inside your little room. But it's sort of like a little private room, and it is absolutely awesome. All I can say is that the Qatar business class seat, it beats any economy seat by a wide margin, and I will take it anytime I can afford a ticket.
It's time for your tech tip. You know what I love more than reading emails? Not reading emails. That's not true. I am a lonely man, and I look forward to every single message. But I'm trying to build rapport because I know that most lawyers are in a different boat entirely. They loathe email. It haunts them. Now, maybe that's not entirely fair, but for a lot of people, email is a necessary evil. It's still, after all these decades, the de facto way we communicate, and our inboxes are exploding with everything from important and time-sensitive messages from clients and colleagues to information and updates that are useful, but frankly, I've got bigger problems to solve right now, and then just downright garbage that needs to go straight into the trash. Or would go into the trash if you didn't leave so many messages unread. A few years ago, I gave my better half a hard time because the unread indicator for the mail app on her phone was over 500. Curious, I asked an innocuous question about how high people's unread counts were inside of Rosen Institute. It started with numbers like 10 and 40, which still made me sweat but aren't too bad, but then things began to get bleak. There was a 200, then a 2700, then somebody posted a screenshot with that little red badge reading 11,063. I didn't know the little badge could accommodate 5 figures. It was like seeing photographic proof of aliens building the pyramids. But then another member swooped in with a mic drop of a screenshot, 29,824, or approximately 3.5 days worth of Amazon and LinkedIn automated messages. I'm not going to cast any blame here, though, because I think this problem is so widespread because although email is still critical to how we communicate, we are approaching it in much the same way we have since it was created. Email as we use it and understand it today was arguably available for regular people in the mid to late 80s. Email threads was kind of a hit or miss feature throughout the 90s. Gmail finally added it in 2010, but that's 15 years ago, and I can't think of any big advancements, if we can call threading an advancement, since then. So in the next couple of tips, I want to look at a few ways to wrangle, manage, or otherwise subdue an unruly inbox. Before we dive into the just let AI handle your email bro end of the pool, I want to touch on an app called Talanoa that actually moves away from the threaded approach. You can find it at Talanoa, Talanoa.email. Talanoa reframes your inbox more like a chat application, organizing messages and conversations based on sender rather than thread. The idea is pretty simple, but I think it's an effective one given how accustomed we've become to tools like Slack, Teams, and instant messaging services. That's a more modern paradigm and one that I think a lot of us can deal with a lot better. Instead of stacking up a list of messages based on timestamp, you get something that looks more like a Slack workspace with indicators for how many messages you have yet to see from your various recipients. I'm not going to say that this is what's standing between you and the 29,000 unread messages, but when it comes to prioritizing and batching the handling of email rather than checking it every 15 seconds and spending all day in your inbox, I do think this approach is likely going to make a big difference for a lot of people. Talanoa has all the niceties you would expect from modern email apps. There are desktop apps for Mac, Windows, and Linux. You get a one-tap unsubscribe function and block features. There's a basic task management Kanban functionality built in, so you can easily turn emails into tasks, and it supports connecting just about any email inbox you can think of: Outlook, Hotmail, Gmail, iCloud, Yahoo, and any other IMAP account. There's a free plan for one email account and limited tasks and one-click unsubscribes, and then a $4 a month plan with unlimited everything, including some promised upcoming AI features for automated summaries and reply drafting. But if you are ready to just let AI decide to archive all of those unread messages instead of doing it yourself, you are in luck. Hey Help, available at heyhelp.ai, is a tool that connects to Gmail inboxes to triage your email automatically. What's great about Hey Help is that it works behind the scenes. It uses Gmail's native labeling, tagging, and drafting without needing to install extensions or learn a new interface. It categorizes emails with labels like awaiting reply, action required, notifications, marketing, pitches, and more. You can configure it to auto-archive certain labels and automatically draft replies for you to review for others. It learns from your writing and recategorization to create better replies that more closely match your tone, and gets better at labeling emails the way you'd like. As of right now, you are limited to their preset categories, but custom categories are coming soon, as is functionality to create draft events with involved parties and allow you to add them to your calendar. Pricing for Hey Help starts at $12 a month for a single user and $80 per month for up to 10 users. Next time we'll talk about ways you can start using tools built into Google Workspace and Office 365 to start rolling your own AI triage solutions. But if you need something plug and play that works right now, Hey Help is worth a look. I'm Ned Days, and that's your tech tip.
And now for your moment of concise advice. My family law firm once paid for every marriage license issued on Valentine's Day. You heard that right. Divorce lawyers picking up the tab for newlyweds. It sounded crazy, and maybe it was. The courthouse line for those free marriage licenses wrapped around the building. There were couples grinning, clerks laughing, and our firm's name was right there on every receipt for every marriage license that day. By noon, the local news was calling about what we were doing. By evening, it was national. The next day, it went international. We got all sorts of coverage for our marriage license stunt. For a few days, we were the most famous divorce lawyers in the world. And the whole thing, it was silly, it was nearly embarrassing, and it worked. Because the things that make you cringe a little are usually the ones that people talk about and remember. That publicity stunt, that PR campaign, it taught me something that I will never forget. Visibility rewards the bold. And in that moment, we realized that we needed to keep being bold if we were going to stay visible in our market. Now, the hardest thing we ever did, it was not flashy. It was not a stunt. It was writing a book, The Smart Divorce, and then writing some follow-up books about specific subjects related to divorce. And that involved months of long nights and rewrites and printers and postage and mailing out thousands of copies of the book to anyone who might even know someone who might ever need us. It felt like a massive gamble. We invested a lot of time and a lot of money in getting that book done, but it turned into a decade of marketing success. We had clients and referral sources look at us and say, "I still have your book on my shelf," years after we published the book. Referral sources treated us differently because we had written the book. Suddenly, we weren't just a law firm, we were the authority. And that's the reward for doing something hard. It compounds. Each big move makes the next big move a little bit easier. Now, we tried lots of things, and not everything we did was a hit. We printed 1,000 luggage tags for folks to put on their suitcase with the idea that they shouldn't leave home without us as their divorce lawyers. I thought it was a brilliant idea. I thought it was funny and that it would really get talked about and it would be memorable. But nobody else thought it was brilliant. I was the only one. But I did have great luggage tags for my personal bags for years. Sometimes these bold ideas, they flop. Sometimes it's not going to work out. That's just part of the deal. But sometimes they really land. We built a YouTube studio. We hosted podcasts. We did live call-in shows. We did hundreds of interviews. And every single thing that we did took time and money and a small piece of sanity. But every one of them made us a little more visible, a little more trusted, a little more known. Some of the things we did were maybe a little too bold. They were hard to stomach, like the memorial that we held for victims of domestic violence. We borrowed a casket from a funeral home and we filled it with roses, one for each victim of domestic violence that year. It was powerful, but it was risky. It could have looked like we were taking advantage of a terrible situation, and we spent a lot of energy debating whether or not to do it, but the result was incredible. We got all sorts of media coverage, and people saw that we cared enough to make the pain of domestic violence visible, and that message spread across our market. That's what bold looks like. Sometimes it's physically hard, sometimes it's emotionally hard, sometimes it's expensive, sometimes it's just awkward, but there is no way around it. You can't play small and expect to be remembered. Anyone can post something safe, you can buy an ad, you can send a newsletter, but the real leaps, the things that take that space in people's memories, it comes from the ideas that make your stomach tighten just a little bit. So this week, I encourage you to take a bold risk. Do something that scares you just enough to make you feel alive again. Write the book or host the event or print the luggage tags, whatever it is. Do something bold. Make it worth remembering, because visibility built on courage, it never goes out of style. And if you doubt yourself, remember, divorce lawyers once gave away marriage licenses, and it worked. That's your moment of concise advice. Wrapping up from Bangkok, thanks for spending a few minutes with me and Ned today. We hope you have a great weekend and an even better week next week. Keep plugging away, moving forward, and getting things done. You're on the right track. You'll get there, I promise. We're all in this together, and together we build better practices through better marketing, better management, and better technology. Until next time, I'm Lee Rosen.
Thanks for listening to Your Law Firm. Subscribe to the Friday File at roseninstitute.com and join thousands of lawyers focused on working on, instead of in their practices. You'll find safe, successful, actionable approaches for transforming your firm. Sign up for free at roseninstitute.com.